Hello, everybody. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel of Main Event Baseball with Ryan. As you guys have known for the past couple of days, I have a very special guest, an honor, in my opinion. My guest is my former Little League coach with the Idaho Cubs. He is also a former Cubs coach and manager in minor leagues, former coach at Gonzaga, former coach at Portland U, former coach of Boise State baseball that I wish still existed, but unfortunately doesn't. And of course, guys, former Boise Hawk manager, Boise's own, Canada's own, I guess, Gary Van Tol. So, Gary, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to do this.
Finally, man, I'm on the main event.
Yes, yeah.
I was starting to really get worried, for as long as we've known each other, that I must have really ticked you off to not get an invite on the main event. It's finally here. Today's a great day. Fired up to be with you and spend some time with you.
Thank you. Yes. And all that. So, Gary, there's a lot of people on the channel that know about you. There's a ton more that don't. So, before we get into the questions, tell everybody about yourself, a little background about yourself.
Well, you kind of nailed it there with the intro. But at the end of the day, yeah, I've been blessed, and God has presented a lot of unbelievable opportunities through the game of baseball, and it's been a crazy journey, but it's been truly awesome to come to the States as a Canadian growing up in a small town to pursue a baseball career, and that was back in 1986. And I'm still in the U.S. and still in the game, and just been very, very fortunate, and met some great people along the way, including yourself. And you and I go back a long time when you were just a little puppy running around the stadium. I don't take those days for granted. And, all the people that we've had an opportunity to meet just here in Boise alone,
Yes.
with a lot of history in professional baseball. And of course, as you mentioned, with me being with the Cubs and being with our affiliate here in Boise was a blessing to be able to do that and still be at home, which Boise is my home now and has been since 2008 when I started with the Cubs. And it's a great day and happy to be here, man.
Appreciate it. But yeah, guys, so we got a lot of stuff to get to, very important questions. I'm going to start with one that personally I don't know much about that I really should have, but I think it's a really good question. So how long was your playing career, and where, like, what teams did you play for?
Well, when I left Canada, I came down to Treasure Valley Community College in beautiful Ontario, Oregon, not too far from Boise, just across the Snake River and the state line. And that's where my journey began. And I played 2 years at Treasure Valley Community College for Rick Bauman, and then had an opportunity to play at Gonzaga University for Steve Hertz. Played there and finished up my college career. And then after that, I had the opportunity to go back to Canada and represent my country and play for Team Canada for 3 seasons. And then after my career with Team Canada, I had an opportunity to finish out my career in Europe, in the Netherlands, with Levi's Neptunus.
Oh, wow.
And was there for 2 seasons.
Oh, wow.
And then during that time, I was getting some opportunities to stay in the game as a coach. Went back to Gonzaga and started coaching there as an assistant, got my master's degree, and then had my first head coaching opportunity at Centralia College. Bob Peters, who's still the athletic director there, gave me my first head coaching position. Granted, he didn't pay a whole lot, so I might have been the only one applying for it, but I took it, and it was great. Ended up going back to Treasure Valley Community College, my alma mater, and was the head coach there. Coach Bauman brought me back when he got the opportunity to be the athletic director. So he asked me if I'd come back and be the head coach. And so I was there for about 6 years and really cut my teeth. And then from there, went to University of Portland and then back to Gonzaga for a second stint.
Ooh.
And then started with the Cubs in 2008 when we moved to Boise and have been here ever since.
Wow, what a journey. Wow, I did not know a lot of that. So that's very, very interesting. And then to follow up that question, what position did you play?
My primary position was second base. So I ended up playing a little bit of the outfield at Gonzaga. Actually started in left field my senior year and, was all conference. And that helped me, I think, just be a little bit more diverse in my skill set. And I ended up playing third base, was a starting third baseman for Team Canada. And so, not a super utility guy, but could hopefully hold my own in the infield a little bit. And, my best tool was I had, I guess, a knack to hit the baseball and make contact. And that kept me in the lineup. And so, I took a lot of pride, obviously, in my hitting, and that enabled me to play other positions and get in the lineup and extend my career for as long as possible. And so, right now, if I was grading my skill set out, I would grade out to a second base type guy.
That's a great position too. We've had a lot of second basemen come through Boise, play for the Hawks. Some of them in the big leagues. We'll get back to that topic in just a little bit. But as you said, as I said, you have played, you have coached. So, how do you think the game has changed since you played?
Well, yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yes, it has.
And
Oh, yeah.
speaking of just playing, second base, every time you turned the double play, you had to make sure you kept your head up because there was somebody that was going to try and send you out into the outfield with that base runner coming in to take out, the middle infielder. So, obviously, that has changed along with a lot of other stuff. But, at the end of the day, I think some of the changes have been very, very positive for baseball. I know for some people it's tough to accept change, and I am a traditionalist, and I value the history of baseball, and it's been all around a long, long time. But you have to adapt and you have to adjust to the way things are right now. And when you look at the game overall, there's some unbelievable talent out there.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
what can the game do to stay relevant? And the fan base, trying to keep them in tune and in touch, because with obviously technology and social media, and a lot of options out there for people to choose from, I think it's important for all of us in the game to do everything that we can to make it as attractive as possible for the fans. Because at the end of the day, our fan base is critical for this game to be successful. And it's a special game. It's been around for a long time. but for me to still be involved in the game
Mhm.
and to adapt and adjust accordingly and to really embrace whatever changes are happening, that's the only way that you can survive. And I still have a passion to, teach and make an impact through the game of baseball. I think God has, given me the tools necessary to use the game of baseball to help young players and people understand life a little bit better, because baseball and life is very similar. And there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of streaks. There's a lot of failure, and I think that's the one thing about baseball that relates to real life. And I think as life has changed for everybody on the planet, along with the game, just being able to stay relevant and be a part of it, to do whatever I can to help people and make this a better game. Again, I'm very fortunate.
Yes, and I'm fortunate that I had you as a coach. So and all that. I had a lot,
Great.
but now again going back, I said at the intro that Gary was my little league coach, and one thing that is big about little league is that kids are like want to be very serious about the game. So if there were any parents, and I know there are parents watching this right now, if you could give any parents advice for about the kid who wants to pursue baseball in high school and college and all that, and they're right now in little league, what would that advice be?
Well, I think at a young age, and I look back when I was in Little League, there has to be a love for the game.
Absolutely.
And with all the distractions now, I think it's a challenge to keep young players on track, because there are so many things to do. And young players, you need to keep their attention, and you need to do everything you can to support, their love for whatever they're doing. And if it happens to be baseball, then that's awesome. Um, you can't force them.
Yep.
You got to continue to be supporting actors and give them an opportunity, hopefully, to have access to not only baseball but a lot of other activities.
Yes.
But if you do have a son that really has taken a liking to baseball, then as parents, doing whatever you can to help support that dream, and use that motivation to make sure that your kids understand what commitment is, what hard work is. There's going to be some times where they're not having fun
Oh yeah.
because maybe they're not having a lot of success. This is a very difficult game to play, especially when you're young. But I think just anything. I mean, it's going to be each young player's journey, and they're the ones that are going to have to kind of set the measurables in terms of the excitement and passion that they have. And as parents, I think you want your son or daughter to be passionate about something. And if you can find that, giving them every opportunity to pursue that passion, with also the understanding of the commitment that it takes, that here's what it looks like to see that commitment through the good and the bad and the ups and downs. And that will help, I think, develop that character within each young person to make decisions for themselves that will help them stay on track with the support that they have around them,
Right.
starting with the parents and the coaches that they're working with, to really make that impact to help them just through life.
That I love that. I love it, and I love it, and all of that. And what next? This is actually a very important question in not just baseball but sports. When we were the Pioneer League with the Hawks, you were not just a manager; you were the in charge of the host families and all of that. And so, how important is host families? Again, not just to baseball, but like sports, like in general. How valuable are they?
Oh, they're critical.
Yeah.
They're the lifeline of the organization and the team. And I mean, I only can speak on my own experience as a player. I left home when I was 16, and growing up in Canada, hockey was my first passion.
Oh yeah.
Baseball was second because the summers in Canada were very short.
Oh
So the baseball season wasn't very long,
yeah.
and I learned how to skate before I learned how to walk. But growing up in a small town,
Mhm.
for me to pursue opportunities, I had to leave when I was 16 and pursue a hockey career before I came to the States. And living away from home, I had my first experience living with a host family,
Absolutely.
and they became an extension of my family. And there are some host families I still stay in touch with them uh, over all these years. And fast forward to our time together in Boise, with you and your mom being on that host family roster. Um, yeah, our players here in Boise, um, being able to stay with families like you and your mom that opened up their homes and took our players in and made them feel a part of the family, with them being away from their family,
Yes.
was so important through the development of their time here, whether it was maybe for a full season or a half a season, or
Right.
for some guys that we had returning. um, and looking at the independent experience that we just had, these last 4 years when I was the manager of the Boise Hawks in the Independent Pioneer League, going out and finding host families was critical in our success. And the one thing that I know you'll agree with, and your mom, is we have a very passionate home host family program here that has made an incredible impact in the organization and has made an incredible impact in all the players that have come through Boise.
Yes, and all that. And of course, guys, if you want to know my host family experience, there is a link down below for that at any time you guys wish. But going back to it, Gary, you did not just manage one team in the Northwest League, you also manage another, Eugene. For those of you who don't know, they play at the University of Oregon. Beautiful facility. But what I want to ask you mainly about Eugene and Boise, how did it feel to go back to Canada? Now you were on the away side, but how did it feel to go back to your homeland, coaching professionally, even though it was in the minor leagues?
No, it was awesome because, I didn't get that opportunity to go back home very much, especially after my career was over. And,
Mhm.
I played the 3 years with Team Canada. But yeah, the opportunities to go back home were limited. And um, with us being in the Northwest League and the Vancouver Canadians being in the league, it was a chance to get up there at least once a season. And, I love being in Boise. I love being in Eugene, but there was definitely something special about being in Vancouver. Probably one of the best minor league experiences and environments that you could really ask for. It's a tough place to go in as a visitor
Oh
and
yeah,
win ball games. And I think we had a stretch when we were in Boise where we lost three straight playoff opportunities against Vancouver,
yeah.
and saw them celebrate at Hawks Memorial one too many times. But yeah, going into Vancouver for me, being Canadian, was definitely special. And hearing the Canadian national anthem, yeah, there was nothing better. So again, I feel blessed to have those opportunities to be able to go into Vancouver, when we were in the Northwest League. And then even in the Pioneer League, we got close when we were playing up at Glacier. We weren't too
Yeah.
far from my homeland in Great Falls. We were pretty close to where I grew up and had some family come down to see us. When we were in Great Falls, my sister and her daughter came down, and
Right.
it was great to see him. But the opportunities were limited for sure. So whenever there was a chance, to be able to go back home, it was obviously a special opportunity.
And guys, if you have not seen a Canadian baseball fan, they are passionate. We actually, Hawks played game 3 here in Boise in 2012, winner take all. And I will never forget 4 people from Vancouver, and they made more noise than the rest of us. They are passionate. They're loud. You gotta love Canadian sport fans, no matter what, and all that. But yeah, and then again, COVID hit, and we went into independent ball. A lot has changed in the time we've been with independent ball. So, what is your true opinion of independent baseball? Because not many people really know much about it.
Well, it's last chance you for these players, and with only 20 rounds in the draft, there used to be 40.
Yep.
That has eliminated a lot of opportunities for high school and college players to get selected by a major league organization. So in independent baseball, that's the niche for those players that uh, went undrafted,
Yep.
or for those players that were drafted, played with a major league organization coming up through their system and got released. What
Mm-hmm.
is that next option? And the only option is to play independent baseball. So right now there's 4 main leagues
Yep.
in the US, the Pioneer League being the youngest of the 4. And then you have the Frontier League, you have the American Association, and then you have the Atlantic League. And so right now it's a very similar system to a minor league system where I think Major League Baseball wants the Pioneer League to be that younger level, very similar to the A level in the
Mm-hmm.
minor league system. And then you have the Frontier League, which would be advanced A, double A players, the American Association, double A, triple A, and the Atlantic League, triple A, ex big leaguers. And that makes sense. But it's last chance you for these guys.
Yeah.
And, the players, they're hungry. They know that they're on the outside looking in, and for a
Yep.
lot of them, they're doing everything that they can to try and get either re-signed with a major league organization or just signed for the first time. So it was a lot of fun, at least, for me, being in Boise, working with guys that, had a chip on their shoulder. They weren't drafted, or they were recently released after playing a couple years, because we had that experience cap where we couldn't sign a player that had played more than 3 years of professional baseball. I really enjoyed working with the caliber athlete that we were able to bring into Boise. And I tell people a lot when they ask me the same question. When I was in Boise managing the Hawks in the Cubs organization, when I looked at my roster in August,
Mm-hmm.
when Chris Bryant had already been in and out,
Oh yeah.
Schwarber had been in and out, Javi Baez, Almora, all those guys that we had. And I'm looking at my roster in August. I'm looking at guys that we drafted 20 rounds and higher.
Yeah.
And so when I'm
Absolutely.
looking at my roster in independent baseball, a lot of these guys would have been selected in the 23rd round, the 30th round, the 32nd round. So, once the prospects left and moved up, and you're working with, the players that you have to finish out the season,
Yeah.
it reminded me a lot of that. And, that made it, I think, very similar for our fan base.
Right.
And I know a lot of people were upset when Boise lost their affiliation for obvious reasons,
Yep.
and rightfully so. But I think for the people that, came back to the ballpark to watch us play as an independent, they saw a very similar caliber and level of baseball.
Right. Yeah. And, guys, by the way, this actually just got the text and all of that from a friend of mine. He wanted to know, and thank you, Hunter, for asking me this. When you were in Eugene, you did not just manage guys, you managed guys who are in the big guys like Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Christopher Morel. Can you, out of all the players you managed in Eugene and coached, what player that is in the big leagues right now did you know right away that they had what it took?
Boy.
And that's a tough one, I know, but
Well, and again, being in this for 30 plus years, I think I've had the opportunity to, work with at least 90 guys that have made it to the big leagues.
right.
Um, guys like Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, Ian Happ,
Mhm.
first round picks. Every organization, right,
Yeah.
who makes that important first round selection is banking on that player, getting to the big
Oh
leagues.
yeah.
But, I think I look at just some of the guys that really exceeded expectations, and nobody looked at them as a prospect, and they still, made it to the big leagues. David Bodie, for example,
Yes.
that played in Boise, who the Cubs drafted out of a junior college in Colorado. David had tremendous talent. That's why he was drafted, but it wasn't an easy minor leagues.
Mhm.
And there were probably 3 instances where I got the phone call from the front office, and the word that came down was to release David Bodie, that his time was up. And, by God's grace, all 3 of those situations, something happened that night in AA or AAA where I had a message saying, "Hey, don't release Bodie. We got to send him to AA to cover there for somebody who got hurt."
Yeah.
And to David's credit, he grinded and grinded and grinded and proved a lot of people wrong.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of him,
Hmm.
and playing a very small role in his journey to see him finally get to the big leagues and make it. It wasn't easy to stay in the big leagues for him.
No.
And I know his career, might be at its end, but there's somebody who, man, just overcame all the obstacles, adversity, and just persevered and made it. And that's what's so awesome about it. And most recently, you mentioned you were going to have Penrod on the show. That might be one of my top 5 all-time stories
That's a good.
of a young player
Yes.
finally getting his opportunity, and Penrod making the most of it.
Uh,
And, within a year, he's leaving the Pioneer League
yeah.
and pitching in the big leagues to finish out the season last year. And of course, everybody locally knows Zach, and growing up in Nampa, and
Yeah.
he was one of the first guys I signed when I ended up taking over the Boise Hawks as an independent,
Hmm.
as their manager. And the only thing that really Zach needed to do was get through a season healthy because, you know, injuries, I think, were the main thing that kind of held him back.
Mhm.
And there were opportunities where he was really, really close. I had a number of major league organizations calling me, but each time he had, you know, tweaked an oblique or strained his forearm. He ended up going on the IL, and he just kept fighting that injury bug and couldn't quite get healthy. And then, you know, it was that second season with us in Boise where we weren't going to make the playoffs. And we ended up trading him to Billings to play for a former big league manager and Jim Riggleman.
Yeah.
And talking to Zach and knowing that he wasn't going to come back to Boise the next year, you know, we needed to get him to continue to pitch and try and pitch in an older league and, you know, get through a season healthy. And he ended up signing with Ottawa after the playoff run with Billings that next season. And the next thing I know, Ottawa's trading him back to Missoula in the Pioneer League
Yeah, I remember
for his
that.
third season.
He was
But
come here. Yeah.
which, you know, was great for. I mean, it all worked out, and things happen for a reason. God has a plan for all of us. But for Zach to be able to come back and pitch in Missoula and go through the season with no hiccups in
Mhm.
terms of injury wise, he had a dominating season. And I'll never forget when the Red Sox called me to cross check on him, and they were thinking about, you know, signing him and giving him an opportunity
All right.
for the season that he was having in Missoula. They gave him that opportunity, and man, what an unbelievable story for him, and he deserves all the credit. And I'm so excited to see what he's going to be able to do next, going into spring training
Oh yeah.
and solidifying a spot on the big league club and spending the entire season, you know, in the big leagues. And again,
That's
if he stays healthy, the sky's the limit. But
yeah.
what a great story for the Boise Hawks, but more important for a young local player named Zach Penrod, whose only chance was at Last Chance U, and that was the Boise Hawks and the Missoula Paddleheads
Yeah.
to get that shot with the Red Sox.
You're making me that guys again. That is a story you guys need to listen to and hear. And all that. And of course, Penrod will be a guest in the next couple of weeks for that incredible story. I have two more questions for you, Gary. They are very, very important. Number one, I got to ask because you will not return as a Hawks manager. It does make me cry a lot to this day. What do you see baseball? What is the future of baseball in Boise, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, right now it's the Pioneer League, and that's really the only option.
Yeah.
I know that when Boise lost their affiliation and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do next,
Hmm.
um, because of their location, the Pioneer League was an option, and the only other option was to go the college route and put a team in the West Coast League at the Summer Collegiate
Yep.
League, which is very successful. And I mean, you look at the history of the West Coast League. That's where the future major league players are coming from because all those guys are still in college from major college programs that are going in and playing in the summer to develop. But really, those were the only two viable options, and they chose the Pioneer League. And you know, it's been 4 years, and I think that uh, from an overall standpoint, at least in Boise, it's been a successful transition. It hasn't been an easy one,
Right.
but when you look at the attendance and the fan base that are coming out to support the team, it's been awesome, and I will miss the Boise fans for sure, but it's a challenge to survive as an independent, and the Pioneer League has seen some struggles as they try to solidify a competitive league that financially can support itself.
Right.
And there's some organizations that are keeping their head above water, and I think there's some organizations that are really struggling. And so, that's just part of the deal, being an independent and being able to survive on your own. And until a new stadium can get built in Boise, those are really the only options that the ownership has to look at. And it'll be interesting to see where things are at in 5 years. And I know we've been in Boise a long time, and we've heard numerous times that a new stadium was going to get built.
Mm-hmm.
But until a new stadium does get built, there's going to be nothing other than what you're seeing now at Hawks Memorial Stadium. And so, if a new stadium can get built, then I think there is a possibility that they can become affiliated again, maybe in the Northwest League.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
with this valley growing, it's a AAA market,
Yes.
and that would be the only other step. So the only
Yeah.
two options you have in affiliated baseball is Advanced A now in the Northwest League,
Yep.
which, of course, when we were running around in the Northwest League,
Yeah.
it was short season,
Yeah.
76 games, and now it's 144, I think, in
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Advanced A, and there's only 6 teams in the league, and I know there's going to be some adjustments and changes coming down the road with Major League affiliates after this next year. And I know you talked about Eugene, and Eugene hasn't been able to lock up and secure a new stadium because right now they're playing at the University of Oregon, which they've been able to make it work. It's been a challenge to share that with the University of Oregon's baseball program. And it's not ideal, but they've been able to figure things out. I don't know how much longer that can happen, but obviously, Eugene needs professional baseball, and it would be a shame if professional baseball left Eugene, just like everybody was disappointed in Boise when Boise lost its affiliation. But to me, the stadium's the key, and if the
Mm-hmm.
stadium can get built and they built it the right way with a long-term vision of eventually supporting a AAA franchise, that would be, the ultimate goal. Hopefully you and I are around long enough to see that come to fruition.
Yes. Yes. And then, Gary, I have to save the best question for last. And of course, I wanted to ask you, number one, you are not going to return as Hawks manager. So everybody wants to know what's next for Gary Van Tol.
Well, I've been blessed to sign on with the Cincinnati Reds, and so
Congratulations.
I'll be heading down to spring training here very soon. But
I'm so happy for you.
yeah, just really, really excited to get back into professional baseball with a major league organization, especially the Reds organization. It's one of the most historic major league organizations, the
Yeah.
first major league organization, and of course, a very strong, proud history, and with a lot of great people. So I couldn't be more excited to join the Cincinnati Reds, and fired up to get down to Goodyear for spring training, and bringing back Terry Francona at the big
Yeah.
league level as our manager. There's a ton of excitement,
Oh,
and we've got a very competitive young baseball team at the big league level.
oh yeah.
That we're looking to compete for a divisional title and make the playoffs, and yeah, do something real special. So yeah, I'm really, really excited and looking forward to it.
Well, Gary, I hope to see you down there because I will be down there as well, and I will definitely reach out to you. As always, guys, that is my guest, Gary Van Tol. Gary, thank you so much for taking this time for this can't miss episode. You did a great job. I really appreciate it. And then the reminder, guys, we are only 152 days away from the Battle of Idaho, resuming the Hawks Open the 2025 Pioneer League season here in Boise at Memorial Stadium against our in-state rival, the Idaho Falls Truckers. And once again, guys, that right there is my interview with my good friend and longtime mentor. I would also say that, Gary Van Tol. Gary, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, guys. Again, my upcoming interviews are with Jalen Garcia, Zach Penrod, JJ, our current scouting director, and a whole lot more. If you want any more info for my future guests, you can find it down below in the link below. I will see all you guys in the next episode. Gary, again, happy holidays. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.